We're here at European Women in Technology in Rai, Amsterdam. Today with me is Linh Bergen-Peters, CMO of Spotcap. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So Spotcap.
So Spotcap is a fintech startup. We started 4 years ago. And our main business is providing unsecured short-term loans to small and medium-sized businesses. We're in 5 different countries currently: UK, Netherlands, Spain, Australia, New Zealand. We're also partnered with somebody in Austria, and we're looking to further expand. It's based on a need for SMEs to get access to funding. In many cases, banks, especially after the credit crisis, weren't doing that. So we're meeting that need. We've developed a proprietary algorithm that evaluates risk. We've got a proprietary platform. And actually, interestingly enough, that is actually now attractive to banks who are now interested in working with us because they have very
You can do risk assessment, basically.
The whole thing. We do origination all the way to servicing of a loan. It depends on what they want, but generally speaking, when they have very, very heavy processes and heavy IT systems, they're interested in working with fintechs, who are more agile. And our advantage is we actually do what they're trying to buy from us. So there you go. In a nutshell, that's what we do.
So that's really peculiar, right? The banks have sort of missed out on these and this whole credit to SMEs, while a lot of growth companies are now, so those are SMEs, those are startups and scale-ups. It's hard to get finance from a bank anymore, and now all of a sudden they turn to you. How weird does that feel to you?
I don't think it's weird. We've always seen ourselves as kind of partnering with banks anyway. A customer will still want to go to a bank if they can, and if they can get, loans from them, fantastic, but sometimes they can't. Or a bank is asking for security, and we do unsecured loans. So
not asset-backed, basically?
No, it's really based on performance, their business performance. So we don't look at the traditional only credit scores. We're looking at all kinds of different factors that allow us to assess whether how healthy a company is, how much we can afford to actually lend them, because we are responsible lenders. We don't want to lend them what they can't afford to pay back. It's not that different. It's actually kind of from our perspective, it's just strengthening the view that there is a need here. And banks are the first to kind of admit that their legacy systems, their regulatory structures, et cetera, have made it a bit challenging for them to loan to SMEs. Because if you think of the processes internally in a bank, whether you're loaning to a large enterprise, several hundred million, or you're loaning to an SME, the process is the same. So it's just not agile, it's not financially worthwhile. So our automated process in many cases, and our technology allows it to be an agile thing for them. So they're actually able to offer services that they can't today.
Yeah. So it's quite peculiar because I've seen you come into the Netherlands and grow in the last 3 to 4 years, and now you've reached a certain milestone. How much did you lend already to SMEs in total?
So globally, we reached the milestone of we've lent €250 million across the world.
250
million euros.
In non-marketing speak, yes.
Yes, sorry, 250 million
You're a CMO, you're allowed to do that.
Just several thousand businesses around the world. So yes, this has been our latest, we see it as an accomplishment that we're enabling businesses.
So there's a clear need. How much more can you actually lend in this way? Is there not a certain plateau where you can say, yeah, we did 1 billion and this is about what we can do?
No, it depends. You see different, numbers depending on the markets, but this is a multi-billion, business. If you think of the sheer number of SMEs out there, if we even look at the group that we're interested in mostly, because we don't necessarily lend to startups, but you have several million SMEs in the Netherlands alone. You have several million in the UK alone. So there's still very much room for opportunity there and growth.
So in terms of market, you're now basically focused on the Anglo-Saxon market and a little bit of the DACH region and then the Netherlands?
And we've been in Spain also for several years, yes.
So how different is that towards those other markets?
It's interesting that you ask this question because you would think there's a lot of differences. You will have differences region by region in terms of regulations, licenses, etc. There are differences from that perspective, from a legislatory perspective or a regulatory perspective. But interestingly enough, when we start looking into the customer, SMEs are not that different country to country. You know, they're trying to grow their business. They're time poor. They want simplicity. You know, they want straightforwardness. They want somebody they can trust. That's the same across the board, interestingly enough.
So how would you see a more global rollout? Where does this end? Can you go to other markets? Is the US something that's interesting? Or are you more gearing towards, let's say, Asia or the Middle East?
Well, obviously we're having these kind of strategic discussions, which, you know, I'm not necessarily able to talk about at this point, but we are looking at all the different regions. It's what makes most sense for us business-wise, but also where we really see a need. There's no point in going into a market where you don't really see the need, and we're not helping an SME. So it's really looking at the financials of it, the opportunity of it. Is there a partnership opportunity? Do we want to go in ourselves? There's different discussions that we're having, obviously.